When news of an extra $200 monthly payment for Social Security and veteran beneficiaries started spreading in late November 2025, it immediately sparked a wave of hope mixed with skepticism within the community of millions of Americans living on fixed incomes. The most frequently asked question was not how they would spend the money, but whether it was real and when the funds would hit their accounts. Amidst a chaotic news cycle, the truth about this proposal must be dissected carefully and transparently, based on official documents just released in the U.S. Congress. This is not a baseless social media rumor. It is the core content of a serious legislative effort just launched. However, the path from a piece of paper to an actual check still contains many variables that beneficiaries need to understand to avoid false expectations. It officially began on November 20, 2025, when the U.S. House of Representatives press office issued a release confirming that Representative Stephen Horsford and Representative John B. Larson had introduced the Social Security Emergency Inflation Relief Act. Unlike long-term reform proposals that often get bogged down in years of debate, this bill is designed as an emergency stimulus package with the specific goal of injecting cash directly into people's pockets immediately. According to the text from Rep. Horsford's office, the proposal calls for increasing benefits by $200 per month for all those receiving Social Security and Veterans Affairs benefits. However, a crucial detail that many might miss when reading brief headlines is its temporary nature. This allowance is not permanent. It is set to expire in July 2026. This timeline is not random, but calculated to address the immediate emergency without creating an irreversible long-term fiscal burden, a strategic move to reduce opposition from those concerned about budget deficits. The rationale behind the expedited birth of this bill lies in the brutal economic statistics released for the upcoming fiscal year. According to data cited in Rep. Horsford's November 20 release, the cost of living adjustment for 2026 remains at only 2.8%. For a person receiving an average benefit, this equates to an increase of merely about $56 per month. While this might look like an income increase on paper, the reality is far harsher when weighed against medical costs. At the same time this modest COLA takes effect, Medicare Part B premiums are projected to skyrocket by nearly 10%. This disparity is the primary reason Rep. Horsford raised the alarm that without intervention, seniors would effectively become poorer in 2026 because the benefit increase would not suffice to cover the rising insurance premiums. The proposed $200 is the lifeline intended to prevent a scenario where citizens must choose between buying medicine or food, a heartbreaking reality that Horsford emphasized in his remarks. Immediately following the bill's presentation in the House, a coordinated legislative maneuver took place in the Senate on November 21, 2025. According to a release from Rep. John B. Larson's office, Senator Elizabeth Warren introduced the companion version of this bill in the Senate, creating a bicameral pincer movement to accelerate passage. The November 21st document also clarified the scope of beneficiaries, quelling the anxieties of various vulnerable groups. The $200 increase is not limited to Social Security retirees, Title II. It extends broadly to recipients of Supplemental Security Income, SSI, railroad retirement beneficiaries, and veterans receiving VA benefits. The scale of this relief package covers approximately 75 million Americans, making it one of the largest Social Security proposals in recent history. Notably, a technical but incredibly valuable detail for beneficiaries is that this amount will be tax-free. This ensures that citizens receive the full $200 without worrying about being pushed into a higher tax bracket or facing cuts to other income-based benefits. From a financial analysis and practical impact perspective, Newsweek, in a post on November 21, 2025, provided comparisons to help readers visualize the value of this proposal. With current average benefits ranging from $1,900 to $2,000, a $200 increase represents a boost of approximately 10%. This is a massive figure compared to the standard 2.8% COLA. Economic experts cited by Newsweek assess that this is a democratic effort to cope with lingering inflation pressure, while acknowledging that current automatic adjustment tools are outdated and no longer accurately reflect the rising costs of essentials for seniors, such as health care and housing. However, the article notes that limiting the duration to July 2026 makes this more of a stopgap measure than a structural reform. It is akin to a potent painkiller to get through the immediate economic hardship rather than a cure for the root causes of the pension fund shortfall. However, to turn this attractive proposal into reality, the bill must overcome significant political hurdles in the 119th Congress. Investopedia, in an analysis on November 22, 2025, offered a cautious outlook on the bill's legislative viability. While it sounds reasonable and humane, the proposal faces deep partisan division regarding public spending. Spending hundreds of billions of dollars on this relief package, even if temporary, is certain to face opposition from lawmakers concerned about budget deficits and national debt. Investopedia also clarified the distinction between this emergency bill and the Social Security 2100 Act, another long-term reform bill. Separating these two helps the public understand that they are waiting for a situational decision which could be passed faster but is also easier to reject if bipartisan consensus is not reached. Author Elizabeth Guevara of Investopedia also explained the payout mechanism if passed. The Social Security Administration would likely add the $200 to the monthly check or issue a separate check, with the ideal target for implementation being January 2026. Support from civil society organizations is a major driver pushing this bill forward. The Senior Citizens League, TSCL, a reputable nonprofit organization representing seniors' interests, issued a legislative update on November 28, 2025, expressing strong support for Horsford and Larson's proposal. Daisy Brown, the organization's legislative liaison, presented a startling statistic. 73% of seniors currently rely on Social Security for more than half of their income. For this group, the loss of real purchasing power due to inflation and medical costs is a disaster. TSCL calculates that a $200 monthly increase would yield a total of $2,400 per year for each beneficiary, a sum large enough to make the difference between living with dignity and struggling. The organization emphasizes that this is the time for Congress to act for the benefit of constituents rather than getting bogged down in political calculations. So what should citizens do and expect in the coming time? First, it must be clearly understood that as of late November 2025, this is still just a bill on the agenda, not an official law. No payment orders have been signed, and the Social Security Administration cannot yet make any changes to the payment system. The January 2026 timeline is the target aimed for by the bill's sponsors, but to achieve that, Congress must work at record speed in December. Beneficiaries should closely monitor news from the House Ways and Means Committee and the Senate Finance Committee, where debates deciding the bill's fate will take place. If passed, this money will be a magnificent lifeline, but if it faces obstacles, citizens still need to mentally prepare for a difficult 2026 with a low COLA increase. In summary, the proposal for a $200 monthly increase through July 2026 is a real effort, born from urgent real-life needs and driven by prominent lawmakers. It is not fake news, but it is also not yet cash in hand. The truth behind this too-good-to-be-true bill is a grueling legislative battle currently unfolding in Washington, where the welfare of 75 million Americans is being weighed against macroeconomic issues of the national budget. With rising Medicare premiums threatening to swallow the meager COLA adjustment, the Social Security Emergency Inflation Relief Act is currently the most viable hope to protect the standard of living for seniors and veterans in the coming year. Staying informed through official sources like the House or reputable organizations like TSCL, rather than trusting baseless promises on social media, is the best way for citizens to maintain their composure and prepare financial plans for themselves and their families during this volatile period.